My name is Jelvin Bicino, BSc Agronomy, Section 8, third year college, and this is my presentation about PD and back to basic economic corporation explained. Capitalism, an economic and political system in which a country trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. Pillars of capitalism: private property, self-interest, competition, a market mechanism that determines prices in a decentralized manner through interaction between buyers and sellers. Freedom to choose with respect to consumption, production, and investment. Limited rule of government. What is Keynesian economic? Keynesian economic is a economic theory of total spending in the economy and its effect on output, employment, and implementation. Keynesian economic was developed by the British economic John Maynard Keynes during the 1930s in an attempt to understand the Great Depression. During the Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in the history of the industrialized world, lasting from 1929 to 1939. It began after the stock market crash of October 1929, which sent Wall Street into a panic and wiped out millions of investors. The revolutionary idea. Keynes argued that inadequate overall demand could lead to a prolonged period of high unemployment and economy output of goods and services in a sum of four components: consumption, investment, government policies, and net export. The difference between what a country sells to and buy from the foreign countries. Stabilizing the economy. Stabilizing policy is a package or set of measures introduced to stabilize a financial system or economy. The terms can refer to policies into distinct set of circumstances. Micro and macro, the economic divided. Macroeconomics is concerned with how the overall economic works. Microeconomic is concerned with the supply and demand interact in individual markets for goods and services. Why the divided? In fact, from the 19th century until the Great Depression of the 1930s, economic, the study of how human society organized the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Economic models is simulation of reality. The modern economy, all production of goods and services, all buying and selling, all employment. The economic life of every individual is interrelated, at least to a small extent, with the economic lives of thousands or even millions of other individuals. What makes a good economic model is a simplified version of reality that allows us to observe, understand, and make predictions about economic behavior. A good model is simple enough to be understood while complex enough to capture key information. Sometimes economists use the term theory instead of models. When the models fail, failure models define failure rates, frequencies, and other statistically data observed in real system. These models are used mainly in estimation and prediction system to recreate failures. Econometric, making theory count. Economists develop economic models. Economists also build models to study what-if scenarios such as the impact on the overall economy of introducing a value added tax. Despite their diversity, empirical economic models have features in common. A daunting task, it is intimidating or overwhelming in a way that make you not even want to try to do it. Perfect competition. There are large number of identical supplies and demanders of the same product, buyers and sellers can find one another at no cost and no barriers, prevent new supplies from entering the market. What is direct investment? Is an investment in the form of controlling ownership in a business is one country by an entity based in another country. Base of investment. A stock base value is the initial cost of the stock and is indicated on the certificate of the stock in question. A bond base value is the dollar figure due to be paid to the investor once the bond reaches maturity. Local effect. A strong effect is an average wages in local firms, but this largely reflect the competition among foreign and domestic firms for local workers. In principle, FDI could also affect wages in local firms through its impacts of productivity in those firms. And that's the end of my presentation about FDI, um, FDA and back to basic economic competition explained.